We are live.
Yay! I am Old New Dude, and he is.
Richard York, Ashra's trueborn son, and this is the Wind's first Barristan chapter. And yeah, so definitely we're going to spoil everything. We think fair use would be okay to publish this, or to actually read this one, because the GitHub repo has this. So if somebody's suing AI over its knowledge of George's work, it's not gonna do many good to take down a video.
Right.
So,
And like I said, the other ones I've seen that have been taking down their reread chapters, they haven't taken down their sample chapters of Wind. So I'm assuming they're under the same assumption that
nobody's going to go after them because it's readily available.
They're not
So
the
anyway,
source. They weren't.
Yeah, it's a short enough chapter that it doesn't really. I mean, it probably makes these battle chapters are really short. So let's start reading.
Okay.
Through the gloom of night, the dead men flew, raining down upon the city streets. The riper corpses would fall to pieces in the air and burst when they came smashing down onto the bricks, scattering worms and maggots and worse things. Others would bounce against the sides of pyramids and towers, leaving smears of blood and gore to mark the places where they'd struck. Evening, guys. Oh, and I forgot to actually say this. I highlighted. Hello. I'm going to be honest. I've never listened to the sample chapters. Well, we're going to read this one, so it's fine.
Yep.
And Preston has the sample chapters. He's his best recreations he can make are the ones that just have summaries, and he has George actually reading the Forsaken. So you gotta listen to George reading the Forsaken. Come on.
Now, is it reading the whole Forsaken or just half of it?
All of it.
Okay.
That's where it comes from.
And I'm sure there's an AI out there that has the entire Winds of Winter written. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure people have done that. Sure. Of course, George is not going to follow anyone's predictions. Probably not even ours.
Look, man, not to throw shade at anybody, but I mean, the best fanfic I've seen still sounds like fanfic and nothing like George whatsoever. The chapters seem to just try to tie their theories up with a bow.
And I'm not saying, I'm not endorsing. I mean, there's something, I sometimes listen to his chapters just to hear his ideas, because fanfic is basically the same thing as theorizing, right?
Yeah.
But I do recommend his chapters for trying to recreate I think if you want to listen to somebody trying to recreate George's style, and it's not even George's style, it's the style that George uses when he's writing that character, which is unique to that character. Anyway, it's, and in fact, the things that he gets the most pushback from are the things where he's literally just taking either it's the sample chapter. He's actually had pushback from the sample chapters of George would never write this, or from his attempts to recreate the summaries of the sample chapters, where the problem they have with it is what happens. Which, like yes, we all have problems with Victorian. What happens in Victorian's chapter? I have not read The North Remembers. Anyway, that's a popular fanfic.
Okay, I haven't read that one either.
Where were we here? Oh, and of course, this is supposed to remind us of the Blackwater and the Antler Men, right? Oh, yeah. So there were people flying through and splattering at the Blackwater as well. So this is in the opposite direction, right? The people were being
closer if they'd tied or nailed simulated dragon wings to their heads for the Antlermen. These corpses.
Okay. Okay. A fanfic written ending meant to be pretty good. Yeah, I've heard some people admire it, or at least say that at least it's an ending. Anyway, huge as they were, the youngest trebuchets did not have the range to throw their grisly burdens deep into the city. Most of the dead were laying just inside the walls, or slamming off barbicans, parapets, and defensive towers. With the six sisters arrayed in a rough crescent around Marine, Every part of the city was being struck, save only the river districts to the north. No trebuchet could throw across the width of the Skahazadon. A small mercy, that, thought Barristan Selmy, as he rode into the market square inside Marine's great western gate. When Daenerys had taken the city, they had broken through that same gate with a huge battering ram called Josos Cock, made from the mast of a ship. The great masters and their slave soldiers had met the attackers here, and the fighting had raged through the surrounding streets for hours. By the time the city finally fell, hundreds of dead and dying had littered the square. Now, once again, the market was a scene of carnage, though. These dead came riding the pale mare. By day, Marine's brick streets showed half a hundred hues, but night turned them into the patchwork of black and white and gray. Torchlight shimmered in the puddles left by the recent rains, and painted lines of fire on the helms and greaves of breastplates of the men. I think I accidentally unplugged my laptop. Sorry about that. Anyway.
Are you reading from? Where are you reading from?
I copied in the text from GitHub, and then I added some notes.
Okay. I'm reading from the back of this, so I'm looking forward to any changes. I didn't know if there was or not.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Find out.
I think they took it from an electronic source. So I don't know. Probably George's webpage. A lot of them were posted on George's webpage. So Barristan Selmy rode past them slowly. The old knight wore the armor his queen had given him, a suit of white enameled steel inlaid and chased with gold. The cloak that streamed from his shoulders was as white as winter snow, as was the shield slung from his saddle. Beneath him was the queen's own mount, the silver mare Khal Drogo had given her upon their wedding day. That was presumptuous, he knew, but if Daenerys herself could not be with them in their hour of peril, Sir Barristan hoped the sight of her silver in the fray might give heart to her warriors, reminding them of who and what they fought for. Besides, the silver had been years in the company of the queen's dragons and grown accustomed to the sight and scent of them. That was not something that could be said for the horses of their foes. With him rode three of his lads.
George doesn't like to flat out say how long things take, and we're to use pregnancies and hints here and there. But it's nice to hear the word years and know that it's been years since the dragons have been born.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like she turns 14 when she realizes she's pregnant, right?
So yeah.
Right. So anyway, with him, so that's before these years have passed. With him rode three of his lads. Tumco Low, the best natural swordsman since Jaime Lannister, carried the three-headed dragon banner of House Targaryen, red on black. Yeah. Anyway, I'll get more into discussion of that here in a little bit. Leric the Lash bore the white forked standard of the King's Guard. Well, I do think it's worth pointing out that the people who carry the banners that we've seen in the story have been like the best fighters. Like people have this idea that if you're the banner carrier, that's your only job. But like Brienne is Renly's banner carrier, right?
Right.
Anyway, the point is that no, actually, the banner carriers are usually like really, really good, and part of the point of that is that they're going to be fighting and raising the banner and helping the morale.
Well, we've seen in this in the book, if I'm not mistaken, the banner carrier lowering that shaft with the pike at the end and using it as a war lance.
Yeah.
So I mean,
pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that.
I mean, they're badasses all the way around. They start out killing using the banner that they're holding, and then move to their secondary, or even after that, weapons.
Leric the Lash bore the white forked standard of the King's Guard, 7 silver swords encircling a golden crown. And if I'm not mistaken, he dies in the next Barristan chapter. To the Red Lamb, Selmy had given a great silver-banded war horn to sound commands across the battlefield. His other boys remained at the Great Pyramid. They would fight another day, or not at all. Not every squire was meant to be a knight. It was the hour of the wolf, the longest, darkest hour of the night. For many of the men who had assembled in the market square, it would be the last night of their lives. Beneath the towering brick facade of Marine's ancient slave exchange, 5,000 Unsullied were drawn up in 10 long lines. They stood as still as if they had been carved of stone, each with his 3 spears, short sword, and shield. And of course, that reminds us of this idea of an army of stone coming to life, right?
Right. Also, would that leave roughly 3,000 manning the walls,
Um,
plus the younger ones that were to take up their swords when they dropped, and then
we're told that the Unsullied have been replaced by the brazen beasts on the walls.
oh, okay.
Anyway,
So
yeah,
that's
that is
3,000 less than what was given or taken.
so.
Not
So that
mentioning,
implies that there's 3,000 somewhere else that George is going to reveal during the battle or something, right?
well, it should be higher than that because you have 3,000
Trained
Unsullied, fully trained, but then you had, I forget the numbers, but it was
hundreds more, yeah.
really, yeah, or thousands more that were the next underneath them, the next underneath them, as far as the training goes. Because she would even take the boys that had just been cut because she said they needed to have someone ready, available to pick up
Right.
the
Well, some of those
gun.
are probably in the mother's men and stuff too, right? So,
Wasn't the final number over 10,000
I don't
or
remember.
something like that? It might even been higher. Never mind.
I don't know. I don't remember. They still
Yeah,
if they've been
I agree.
to that.
There might be some out there because they took the city by a little bit of a misdirection. Maybe they can save the city by a little bit of misdirection.
You know, it's a really good catch that it's deliberately way lower than it should be, is implying that George has got the Unsullied doing something that he hasn't told us about. That's yeah. Unless it's somewhere in here, he mentions them again, but so we'll keep our eyes open. I don't think so.
In D&D, just like Will, whatever the guy played the young kid on Star Trek, Will Wheaton. Math is not my friend in D&D, but in the rest of the world, I can count. So I could tell 5,000 was less than 8.
Yep. You sound like Danny there. Doesn't she say something along those lines? But anyway.
Yeah, I might be an old man, but
I'm just an old man, but yeah. Torchlight winked off the spikes of their bronze helmets and bathed the smooth-cheeked faces beneath. When a body came spinning down amongst them, the eunuchs simply stepped aside, taking just as many steps as were required, then closing ranks again. They were all afoot, even their officers. Grey Worm first and foremost, marked by the 3 spikes on his helm. Oh, and it is worth pointing out that I think it's specifically mentioned that Barristan is wearing the winged helm, and he specifically said that the problem with wearing a winged helm is that it would get, weapons stuck in it, and that would like knock your head around and stuff. So he implied that it was not practical. Anyway.
Ooh, I wonder if that's going to come into play.
Yeah, I think it's implied that it will. It's kind of implied that it will, right? Well, and I'm not so certain that he dies, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if he gets attacked by the spotted cat and has a fever dream of a Chardonnay, as we have mentioned many times.
What would the Shave Pate do if Barristan is wounded and take it out of commission?
Yeah, he would probably take that as, it could really be a lot like Tyrion, right? He could wake up and find out that the city has been really mismanaged in a different direction than he would have done.
The position he thought he had when he got knocked out is not the position he got when he woke up.
Yep. That could definitely be another parallel with Tyrion. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, especially if he's replaced by Tyrion.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good point. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's great. It's the exact same thing that's happened to Tyrion happening from Tyrion. Oh yeah, I like that a lot.
And he's scarred somehow.
Oh yeah.
Lost an eye or.
Oh yeah, maimed to the point where it would actually impact his fighting ability. Yeah, that's I like that too.
If you're going to mirror, you got to mirror pretty good.
May as well mirror Jaime too while you're at it, right? Maybe even a hand injury. The Stormcrows had assembled beneath the Merchant's Arcade, fronting on the southern side of the square, where the arches gave them some protection from the dead men. Jokin's archers were fitting strings to their bows as Sir Barristan rode by, and he specifically is going to remind us that Jokin is the Stormcrow's leader of the archers.
Right.
The widower sat grim-faced astride a gaunt gray horse with his shield upon his arm and his spiked battle-axe in hand. A fan of black feathers sprouted from one temple of his iron half-helm. The boy beside him was clutching the company's banner, a dozen ragged black streamers on a tall staff topped by a carved wooden crow. The horse lords would come as well. Aggo and Ricaro had taken most of the Queen's small Calazar across the Skazadon, but the old half-crippled Jacaran Romo had scraped together 20 riders from those left behind. Some were as old as he was, many marked by some old wound or deformity. The rest were beardless boys, striplings seeking their first bell and the right to braid their hair. They milled about near the weathered bronze statue of the Chainmaker, anxious to be off, dancing their horses aside whenever a corpse came spinning down from above. And I was like, have we ever heard of this Chainmaker? And I searched the text, and the first time it appears is this chapter. So anyway, there's a statue of the Chainmaker.
It's got to be at nighttime to step out of the way of a body falling from the sky. Is it they're stepping out of the way the ones that are bouncing off that they can see?
I guess they have torches and things. Maybe there's a full moon.
I don't know.
Well, there's a full moon. You can see pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it's like spider senses to step out of the way of the one.
Yeah, well, yeah. The fact that they know exactly how far they need to go and no more.
Let me take 2.5 steps and I'll be good.
Yeah, that's something. Not far from them, about the ghastly monument the great masters called the Spire of Skulls, several hundred pit fighters had gathered. Selmy saw the spotted cat amongst them. Notice that the spotted cat is the first pit fighter mentioned.
Yep.
Anyway, I mean, he could, because he probably does need to spin things around a bit or something. It could be backwards, maybe something with Tom, since Tom is compared to Jaime. Maybe Tom is going to attack Barristan. I don't know how or why. I'm sticking with the spotted cat, but anyway.
Well, I mean, they all did look at him like he was kind of crazy when he was talking about a knight's armor, and they've been knighted by him. So, I mean, they don't need him for that in the future.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, George is going to throw wrinkles. It's
okay. Check us out. To mirror Tyrion, who was sharing rule with Cersei. Cersei had someone that a knight basically betrayed Tyrion.
Right.
Tyrion used Lancel, a knight, to spy on Cersei.
And Tom is specifically he's the one who has the banner of the Kingsguard, right? And so not only is he compared to Jaime Lannister, but he has the banner of the Kingsguard. And the original Kingsguard attacks somebody and causes a fever dream is Jaime with Ned, right?
No, Tom's got the House Targaryen banner.
Oh, yes? Who has the...
Yeah. Lorax.
Well, we just read Lord Falash, okay.
Yeah.
And we know Lorax's not going to make it, so...
Tom is the trained pit fighter, and Shave Pate has put him there to spy on Selmy.
Okay.
To begin with, and if that's the person we're going to betray Selmy, he was a spy the entire time.
Okay. Yeah. Because the problem with the spotted cat and the red lamb is it's like too close of a parallel, right? Everything's too close, and usually there's some things that are backwards and stuff, right? So
yeah.
So if instead it wound up being Tom, and maybe he gets saved by the spotted cat, or maybe he's still saved by the red lamb. It's enough that it's Tom instead of the spotted cat. But anyway,
I kind of like the imagery of the red lamb saving him.
Yeah, so do I. And anyway, so the spotted cat is the obvious choice, but yeah, Tom is definitely the sort of another possibility there.
Oh yeah.
Beside him stood fearless Ithoke, and elsewhere Cenera Sheetsnake, Cameron of the Count, the brindled butcher, Togosh, Marigo, Orlos the Catamite. Even Gogor the Giant was there, towering above the others like a man amongst boys. Freedom means something to them after all, it would seem. The pit fighters had more, and that's all the more reason to think that no, that they're here to betray you. But anyway, the pit fighters
Yeah.
had more love for Hisdar than they had ever shown Daenerys. But some he was glad to have them all the same. Some were even wearing armor, he observed. Perhaps his defeat of Kraz had taught them something. Yeah, Barristan proving an old man can easily destroy the best pit fighter by wearing armor is a pretty solid lesson.
Oh yeah.
Above, the gatehouse battlements were crowded with men in patchwork cloaks and brazen masks. The shave paint had sent his brazen beasts onto the city walls to free up the Unsullied to take the field. Right?
Right.
Should the battle be lost, it would be up to Skahaz and his men to hold Meereen against the Yunkai until such time as Queen Daenerys could return, if indeed she ever does. Across the city at other gates, others' forces had assembled. Hal Turok and his stalwart shields had gathered by the eastern gate, sometimes called the Hill Gate or the Kaizai, I guess? Kaizai? Maybe it's Kaizai. I don't know. Gate. Since travelers bound for Lazar via the Kaizai Pass always left that way. Barcelon and the Mother's men had amassed beside the South Gate, the Yellow Gate. The Free Brothers and Simon Stripeback had drawn the North Gate, fronting on the river. They would have the easiest egress, with no foe before them but a few ships. The Yunkish men had placed 2 Giscari legions to the north, but they were camped across the Skahazadon, with the whole width of the river between them and the walls of Meereen.
That sounds like River Run.
Who's Shiera the Sea Snake? Sounds like Shiera Seastar and Corlys had a daughter together. Yeah, a lot of these names I don't think we see anywhere except here.
Yeah, but that was the one name that did stand out in all the ones that you read, and I agree with. Yeah, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. The main Yunkish camp lay to the west, between the walls of Meereen and the warm green waters of Slaver's Bay. 2 of the trebuchets had risen there, one beside the river, the second opposite Meereen's main gates, defended by 24 of Yunkai's wise masters, each with his own slave soldiers. Between the great siege engines were the fortified encampments of 2 Giscari legions. The Company of the Cat had its camp between the city and the sea. The foe had Tolosi slingers, too, and somewhere out in the night were 300 Illyrian crossbowmen. Too many foes, Sir Barristan brooded. Their numbers must surely tell against us. This attack went against all of the old knight's instincts. Meereen's walls were thick and strong. Inside those walls, the defenders enjoyed every advantage. He had no choice but to lead his men to the teeth of the Yunkish siege lines against foes of vastly greater strength. And it definitely does remind us of the Night's Watch.
Right. Well, I mean, this is something else that we're told when they're talking about the Khal Drogo coming to Westeros. I think we hear it in the show more when we're doing the book, but the kings and the lords staying behind their great walls and all that stuff, and the small folk. What will the small folk do when the kings and lords don't protect them?
Only a fool would.
Yeah.
Only a fool would come out of not use that advantage.
Yeah.
Is Robert a fool? Robert should have been born Dothraki. The White Bull would have called it folly. He would have warned Barristan against trusting sellswords, too. This is what it has come to, my queen, Sir Barristan thought. Our fates hinge upon a sellsword's greed. Your city, your people, our lives. The Tattered Prince holds us all in his blood-stained hands. And of course, the fact that it says our fates hinge upon a sellsword's greed right before it says something different could imply that it's the greed of wanting to be with Tyrion and back Tyrion rather than the greed of wanting Pentos.
Yeah, well, our fates hinge upon the sellsword's greed.
A sellsword's greed.
Reminds me of the riddle that Varys asks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, where does the power lie?
Mm-hmm.
Even if their best hope proved to be forlorn hope, Selmy knew that he had no other choice. He might have held Meereen for years against the Yunkai, but he could not hold it for even a moon's turn with the pale mare galloping through its streets. A hush fell across the market square as the old knight and his banner bearers rode toward the gatehouse. Selmy could hear the murmur of countless voices, the sound of horses blowing, whickering, and scraping iron-shod hooves over crumbling brick, the faint clatter of sword and shield. All of it seemed muffled and far away. It was not a silence, just a quiet, the indrawn breath that comes before the shout. Torches smoked and crackled, filling the darkness with shifting orange light.
He
Thousands
can
turned
paint
as
his scenes really well, doesn't he?
oh yeah. Thousands turned as one to watch as the old knight wheeled his horse around in the shadow of the great iron-banded gates. Barristan saw me could feel their eyes upon him. Captains and commanders advanced to meet him, Jokin and the widower for the Stormcrows, Ringmail clinking in their faded cloaks, Grey Worm, Sure Spear, and Dog Killer for the Unsullied, in spiked bronze caps and quilted armor. And of course, that has to remind us of the wildlings, right?
Yeah.
The free folk, the Dog Killer. Romo for the Dothraki, Cameron, Gogor, and the Spotted Cat for the Pit Fighters. You know our plan of attack, the White Knight said when the captains were gathered around him. We will hit them first with our horse as soon as the gate is opened. Ride hard and fast, straight at the slave soldiers. When the legions form up, sweep around them, take them from behind or from the flank, but do not try their spears. Remember your objectives. The trebuchet, said the widower, the one that Yunkai call Haradin. Take it, topple it, or burn it. Jokin nodded. Feather as many of their nobles as we can, and burn their tents, the big ones, the pavilions. Kill many men, said Romo. Take no slaves. Thousands turned as one, very others coded. Oh yeah, that's a good call, Kirsty, thanks.
Nice.
Sir Barristan turned in the saddle. Cat, Gogor, Cameron, your men will follow afoot. You are known as fearsome fighters. Frighten them. Scream and shout. By the time you reach the Yunkish lines, our horsemen should have broken through. Follow them into the breach and do as much slaughter as you can. Where you can, spare the slaves and cut down their masters, the noblemen and officers. Fall back before you are surrounded. Gogor smashed a fist against his chest. Gogor not fall back. Never. Then Gogor die, the old knight thought. Soon. This was not the time nor place for that argument. He let it pass and said, Aye, gates open, then die.
Hulk smash.
But this was, he let it pass and said, these attacks should distract the Yunkai long enough for Grey Worm to march the Unsullied out the gate and form up. That was where his plan would rise or fall, he knew. If the Yunkish commanders had any sense, they would send their horse thundering down on the eunuchs before they could form ranks, where they were most vulnerable. His own cavalry would have to prevent that long enough for the Unsullied to lock shields and raise their wall of spears. Sound of my horn, Grey Worm will advance in line and roll up the slavers and their soldiers. It may be that one or more Giscari legions will march out to meet them, shield to shield and spear to spear. That battle we shall surely win. This one hears, said Grey Worm. It shall be as you say. Listen for my horn, Sir Barristan told them. And this is one problem with all of this. Everybody's listening for horns. But anyway.
Right.
If you hear the retreat, fall back. Our walls stand behind us, packed with brazen beasts. Our foes dare not come too close, or they will find themselves in crossbow range. If you hear the horn sound advance at once. Make for my standard or the Queen's. He pointed at the banners in the hands of Tumco and Larak.
That reminds me of something. And the if Jon Snow really dead or whatever theory that Order of the Green Hand had. We don't see a whole lot of other than the ones that stabbed Jon Snow. We don't see a lot of the Night's Watch in around where the one long.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend
the wall, and they're getting ready to just pelt it all with arrows. My thing is, though, if they're getting ready to pelt it with arrows, then why kill Jon Snow when you're getting ready to shoot arrows all down on him? But retreating to the city to get behind its walls, the gates have to be either left open, which is a bad idea, or open for you when you come back. And if your attackers move after you, they fall into crossbow range. But you also are going to be in crossbow range to the men that are on top of the wall. So if there's going to be a betrayal, it's going to be at the retreat.
Yeah.
And Sir Barristan could be sitting on the outside of the walls because the city was closed off to him.
Well, think if it's meant to mirror Tyrion, then it's going to be. They basically the battle is turned, and then he gets attacked, right? So Anyway.
Yeah. But I mean, I can see it in a tent. You got Victorian, we got Tyrion, we got Barristan probably hurt maybe. You got Grey Worm, and then the city walls are closed. They no longer have Marine. The Shave Pate and the Brazen Men are in there, going no 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 no. So Danny might have to retake Marine when she gets back there, and I don't know. That probably wouldn't work out because you still got the dragons on the inside.
So I
And
like your
then,
idea that they've actually taken it and that Tyrion is now in charge and Barristan wakes up.
yeah, I like that too. Sometimes I have too many ideas.
They conflict anyway.
Yeah,
But that's George's problem too. That's George's problem too. He's trying to planted too many seeds. He needs to pull the weeds of winter
with a leaf blower and a flamethrower.
The widower's horse sidled to his left. And if your horn falls silent, Sir Knight, if you and these green boys of yours are cut down, it was a fair question. Barristan meant to be the first through the younkish lines. He might well be the first to die. It often worked that way. If I fall, command is yours. After you, Jokin, then Grey Worm. Should all of us be killed, the day is lost, he might have added, but they all knew that, surely, and none of them would want to hear it said aloud. Never speak of defeat before a battle, Lord Commander Hightower had told him once, when the world was young, for the gods may be listening.
See, Hightower doesn't sound like Tormund to me. And the few words we get and the few stories we get about him.
Yeah, I've totally been convinced. Like, if you're using the word Lord multiple times to tell people that the character who acts as Jon's White Bull is, and as we've mentioned, most of the nicknames about size at the wall, but not all of them, are ironic nicknames, and it's implied. It's when Jaime talks about the bony arse, he says the bony arses. I think he says the bony arses of Barristan Selmy and the White Bull, or something along those lines, or and Hightower. I'm not sure if he says Gerald Hightower. Maybe he says Gerald Hightower. But anyway, Barristan Selmy and Gerald Hightower, whatever, however he phrases it. But the point is, the way he words it, it implies that he has a bony butt, and
I mean a taller, slenderer frame to be considered the White Bull. So when you put
and the name Gerald means spear leader, and the name Coram means spear, and yeah. Hey, this is Worm Ranger. Hey, good to have you here, Ranger.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm thinking about this. You put armor on, you're going to look bigger than that you are. I mean, he can be slender and a bit on the bony side, and still look imposing because the height is the first thing they're going to see. Then the armor adds because you got the padding underneath, you got the armor itself, so it's going to add some bulk to a slender body. Not saying that he's skinny as a rail or anything like that, but I just don't think he's common. So,
yeah. If we come upon the captain, asked the widower, Dario Naharis, give him a sword and follow him. Though Barristan Selmy had little love and less trust for the queen's paramour, he did not doubt his courage nor his skill at arms, and if he should die heroically in battle, so much the better. If there are no further questions, go back to your men and say a prayer to whatever god you believe in. Dawn will be on us soon. A red dawn, said Jokin of the Stormcrows. A dragon dawn, thought Sir Barristan. He'd done his own praying earlier, as his squires helped him don his armor. His gods were far away across the sea in Westeros, but if the Septons told it true, the Seven watched over their children wherever they might wander. Sir Barristan had said a prayer to the crone, beseeching her to grant him a little of her wisdom, so that he might lead his men to victory. To his old friend, the warrior, he prayed for strength. He asked the mother for her mercy, should he fall. The father he entreated to watch over his lads, these half-trained squires who were the closest things to sons that he would ever know. Finally, he bowed his head to the stranger. You come for all men in the end, he had prayed, but if it please you, spare me and mine today, and gather up the spirits of our foes instead. Out beyond the city walls, the distant thump of a trebuchet releasing could be heard. Dead men and body parts came spinning down out of the night. One crashed amongst the pit fighters, showering them with bits of bone and brain and flesh. Another bounced off the chainmaker's weathered bronze head and tumbled down his arm to land with the wet splat at his feet. A swollen leg splashed in a puddle not 3 yards from where Selmy sat waiting on his queen's horse. The pale mare, murmured Tumco low. His voice was thick, his dark eyes shiny in his black face. Then he said something in the tongue of the Basilisk Isles that might have been a prayer. He fears the pale mare more than he fears our foes, Sir Barristan realized. His other lads were frightened too. Brave as they might be, not one was blooded yet. He wheeled his silver. When they edged their horses closer, he said, I know what you are feeling. I've felt the same myself 100 times. Your breath is coming faster than it should. In your belly, a knot of fear coils like a cold black worm. You feel as though you need to empty your bladder, maybe move your bowels. Your mouth is dry as the sands of Dorne. What if you shame yourself out there, you wonder? What if you forget all your training? You yearn to be a hero, but deep down inside, you fear you might be craven. Every boy feels the same way on the eve of battle. I and grown men as well. Those stormcrows over there are feeling the same thing. So are the Dothraki. There is no shame in fear unless you let it master you. We all taste terror in our time. But it's the only time a man can be brave. Anyway. I am not afraid. The Red Lamb's voice was loud, almost to the point of shouting. Should I die, I will go before the great shepherd of Lazar, break his crook across my knee, and say to him, why did you make your people lay on us when the world is full of wolves? Then I will spit into his eye. Sir Barristan smiled. Well said, but take care that you do not seek death out there, or you will surely find it. The stranger comes for all of us, but we need not rush into his arms. All men must die. Mm-hmm. Whatever might befall us on the battlefield, remember, it has happened before, and to better men than you. I'm an old man, an old knight, and I have seen more battles than most of you have years. Nothing is more terrible upon this earth, nothing more glorious, nothing more absurd. You may retch. You will not be the first. You may drop your sword, your shield, your lance. Others have done the same. Pick it up and go on fighting. You may foul your breeches. I did in my first battle. No one will care. All battlefields smell of shit. You may cry out for your mother, pray to gods you thought you had forgotten, howl obscenities that you never dreamed could pass your lips. All this has happened too. Some men die in every battle. More survive. East or west, in every inn and wine sake, you'll find graybeards endlessly refighting the wars of their youth. They survived their battles, so may you. This you can be certain of. The foe you see before you is just another man, and like as not, he's as frightened as you. Hate him if you must, love him if you can, but lift your sword and bring it down, then ride on. Above all else, keep moving. We are too few to win the battle. We ride into chaos, by the Unsullied time enough to make their spear wall. Sir? Laric pointed with the Kingsguard banner, even as a wordless murmur went up from 1,000 pairs of lips. Far across the city, where the shadowed steps of Marine's great pyramid shouldered 800 feet into a starless sky, a fire had awoken where once the harpy stood. A yellow spark at the apex of the pyramid, it glimmered and was gone again, and for half a heartbeat, Sir Barristan was afraid the wind had blown it out. Then it returned, brighter, fiercer, the flames swirling, now yellow, now red, now orange, reaching up, clawing at the dark. And of course, we get all this clawing at the sky symbolism in this series.
Yeah.
Away to the east, dawn was breaking behind the hills. Another 1,000 voices were exclaiming now. Another 1,000 men were looking, pointing, donning their helms, reaching for their swords and axes. Sir Barristan heard the rattle of chains. That was the portcullis coming up. Next would come the groan of the gate's huge iron hinges. It was time, and of course, groaning hinges reminds us of the Ironborn and Euron in particular, and Aeron's fear of him.
Yeah, well, the fire returning kind of reminded me of Ironborn to return.
Oh yeah.
What may die may or whatever.
Was dead may never die. The rise is getting harder and stronger.
Yeah.
And I was saying that without even thinking about it, but anyway.
My brain just one of those brain farts. I could not think of the word.
I'm not sure if I could have come up with it if I was thinking consciously, but just let your subconscious take over.
Yeah.
But and of course the because we are supposed to be reminded of the wall here, and the wall is one of the great hinges of the world, and Euron is associated with opening hinges and the sound thereof, and so forth. Anyway, the Red Lamb handed him his winged helm. See?
Yep.
Barristan Selmy slipped it down over his head, fastened it to his gorget, pulled up his shield, slipped his arm inside the straps. The air tasted strangely sweet. There was nothing like the prospect of death to make a man feel alive. May the warrior protect us all, he told his lads. Sound the attack.
Okay. Your comment about the helm catching a blow, that was the chapter where he beat the pit fighter and why he didn't wear it.
Yep.
It limited his vision. It would catch a blow. I think that's where that was.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
Like I tell my wife, I usually am, but she normally laughs at me when I say that. But
I laughed when you said it too.
There you go.
Anyway.
You and my wife get along. Probably better than me and my wife.
I don't know. You've been married a long time, so.
Yes, 31 years. No. Coming up on 32. Oh, shit. And December 4th will be 32 years.
Yeah, I was in a live stream a couple of days ago, and Tad Williams was the guest. He brought up too many seeds, characters of the Song of Fire probably being the root cause, George's biggest problem for not being able to finish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Dragon
not
Ball
only that, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. I thought I recognized the name. Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yep, too many weeds in winter.
The way to trim those weeds is called a dagger.
Yep.
Just killing people off.
Yep.
He's not going to answer every plot in the story. We're not going to get an answer to every plot in the story.
Nope.
If you don't need them, stab them.
Yep, pretty much.
You get a dagger, and you get a dagger, and you get a dagger.
Hey, have you watched it? Did you watch the end of House of the Dragon?
Yeah.
Do we want to start talking about that?
Yeah, we can. We got a couple minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes or so.
I like the beginning of the season, and I like the end of the season better than the middle of the
season. Okay, that's fair.
I like the Battle of Templeton.
Well, yeah, because they partially because they did such a good job with cinematography of the two different battles, right? The Gauntlet and Templeton. They did a great job with the cinematography and directing. Yeah.
Those are the two best episodes in the entire 3 seasons, without a doubt.
And I do appreciate Brian Condell throwing butterflies at the end after he gave us a better, arguably a more logical suicide than any of the ideas that you could have gotten from the books. Not to mention that Helena is just a much better character and an actual character in this series. Favorite storyline arc going on this season. So anyway, I personally really liked the fact that he turned it into, Rhaenyra is trying to keep Helena alive, and Helena is not having it as an explanation for her suicide. I thought that was like I said, I thought yeah, and then throwing butterflies at the end.
Well, I mean, we've said it. The best characters were the new characters this season. We should have had more Ruddy the Ruin, the Alley Black. Even those things falling apart. This is my Blackwood shirt. We should have had there's. Oh my God! I know it's House of the Dragon, but not every episode has to be the same people. I mean, you introduce new people, they become fan favorites, and you kind of not do nothing with them. Now, granted, the fight with Ormond Hightower and Ruddy the Ruin was hilarious, especially the dagger up the bum, and then him just right before they got bathed. It was great, but you got such a good actor playing this guy. The guy, as far as I know, is a stud in the books. He was a stud when we saw him in the show. They could have done half a season on him and Oliver and Allie Blackwood or whatever her name is. Just those men that travel from. I mean, that was my biggest letdown of the season. Was that?
Well, I would say they did a better job of spending some time with the characters than they did in the previous seasons. I think that in some ways that your argument they didn't do anything with them. Well, yeah, and a lot of this season was some treading water because they thought they were on pace under the idea that they were only going to have 3 seasons, right? And now they have 4, so they had to slow down from where they were, and yeah, and so yeah, exactly. The HBO wants them to make 4 seasons to make more money, and so now they have to slow down the pace for this season, right? So
for the same reason that Marvel will have, the same reason Marvel will have Avengers Doomsday and then Avengers Secret Wars Part 1 and Avengers Secret Wars Part 2, even though they said they're not going to do that.
Yeah. And actually, the Book of the New Sun did that too, by the way. The Book of the New Sun was first off, it started off he was going to write a short story and he just kept writing and he wound up with like a trilogy worth of material, right? And then he edited it to have logical storylines for 3 books and cleaned up the first one and published it, and then the next year cleaned up the second one and published it, and then they're like, can you stretch it out and turn this third one too? Because it's doing really well.
You're a publisher, you're praying you can turn Winds of Winter and A Train of Springs into 3 books.
Yeah,
that is money in the bank. I mean,
well, at this point, they just want 1 book, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
So anyway, favorite storyline. Like I said, I do like what he did with Helena. I thought that was certainly way better story than in the histories. So calling it Toxic Butterflies was perhaps premature.
Yeah, I don't know if Gawain counts as a storyline, but I really like his character from the Riverlands with what we saw with Christian Cole last season, the beginning of this season, and just he's probably he's in my top 3 favorite characters this season for sure.
First, you thought the Northmen were actually cringe. She just thought that was that their lines fell flat, that they didn't.
Yeah, because they didn't do enough with it. You got him there. They said, "We've come to die for the dragon."
Yeah,
I mean that's it. You get nothing else.
And moving the corpses to King's Landing for that takes away the entire point of the Butcher's Ball, right? So the Butcher's Ball, it's supposed to be that the Northmen are taking the corpses and arranging them in dinners and things to freak out the Riverlands. So they didn't even do one of the cooler things that they did is their psychological warfare against the Riverlands. They instead made it psychological warfare against Rhaenyra. I was like, that's strange. Anyway, so I did not like that.
Yeah, well, I think Allie Blackwood or whatever only had
Black Allie.
Yes, Black Allie. She only said 3 words.
Yeah, she didn't say much. I agree.
She shot 3 arrows and the ones on to Christian Cole, and then she only said 3 words the entire season, or something.
Yeah, and they didn't even quite do the Kristen Cole death correctly. It was okay. It captured the spirit of the thing, but that wasn't. Which is supposed to be, we're just killing you, but which they did. I mean, like I said, they kind of captured that spirit of it, but.
Yeah, they did give him a pretty good fight scene. The fight scene reminded me of the Battle of the Bastards with Jon Snow, just less going on in the background.
It's supposed to be there will be no songs sung of you, and then he just and so that they didn't really do that part right either. Besides that line, The rest sounded cheap, empty, and embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one time you
There
got
was
Letty talking more than 3 words, you can't understand a word he says when he's standing beside Oliver talking to Christian Cole before Black Alley shoots him full of arrows.
yes. We've come to die for the Dragon Queen is a great line. Absolutely.
So I mean, yeah, I like the fight at Tumbleton. I like the Battle of the Gullet. So
I'm glad
now
that they at least kept
a lot of
that
people.
line.
I'm alive. The Aegon in the last two episodes.
That spoils the whole thing.
The actor is phenomenal. I
Yeah.
just without a doubt his speech at the end of episode 7.
Yeah, and you can't. Yeah, you have to. I still think that they could have had him do stuff and still had him disappear at some point. And maybe they still will. I guess he hasn't actually gone to Dragonstone yet, right? So I guess he can still disappear and reappear. It's important. It's important that he has to disappear and reappear. But you're supposed to. But the idea is that you're supposed to think that he's dead when he reappears.
Well, she pronounces him dead. Nobody's seen him, and then once he's seen again, she freaks out.
He's not supposed to reappear until he kills her. That's the point. That's the point. And so having him rise from the dead before he kills her is like that. Except Orin's ass caught me off guard, though. That was oof.
Yeah, that was.
Anyway,
especially after he told his ward to keep his butt up against the wall, giving a dig at Gawain. That was fitting. Yeah. Ormond, the actor who played him, I know he did the character that they gave him. I didn't like his character, but it never disappointed when it was on screen.
Yeah, he's a good actor. He's playing it well.
Are really, really well done. He does a really good job playing the bad guy. So my hat goes off to this guy. He did a good job. John Roxton is a badass.
But it's well, not in the books, but anyway.
Oh, not John Roxton is not a badass in the books.
No, not at all. He's just some rapist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's just not a thing.
Conveniently, the fight was broken up with fire falling from the.
Yes, it's very cliche, but yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, they definitely had problems with the characterization of the people and their motivations carrying through from episode to episode. So that's probably shows that they're rushing the writing too much and not doing a good enough job of the showrunner coordinating between them.
Right.
And his whole smell phobia was the thing that brought him undone. Otherwise, he would have survived. Yeah, that's interesting that they added this concept. Anyway,
I mean, there's a couple of things like the Oliver, Tully, and Ruddy were 1 to 2 days away, and then there's so much that happens in between. They're 1 to 2 days away, and then them showing up. That I'm like, well, they were like 1 to 2 days away.
They did all those timings wrong of everything. They had so many things that were jetpacks versus taking forever.
Rhaenyra hears about Chief Schiller has a new rider, and they fly to the Vale. Damon's there with his daughter, and she grabs him, flies back to King's Landing.
There's people that are jetpacking, and there's people that are not jetpacking, right? There's people that are taking forever. Like there's armies that are taking forever to march, and then there's people jetpacking, and it's like, there's definitely a problem with that too.
I think a lot of that is might have to do with producers and studios.
Well,
but I mean, there's a reason why books are proofread, and editors have notes and all this stuff. Because chances are it's not just one person reading that book before it gets published. They're going to have a couple of people read that book because everybody's going to see different things, right? You have people checking for spelling and grammar. They like the continuity person for movies. Well, this like the in Jurassic Park, the fact that they scaled down the wall that originally the T-Rex was on the other side. You see him standing up, but now all of a sudden it drops 100 feet to the floor below, and there's a continuity specialist on movies to try to keep those things from not happening. And when it
Right.
came to that movie, they pointed it out, but they were like, "No, this is what we want. It doesn't matter. Most people don't catch it, but yeah, most people caught it."
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely. Oh, and by the way, this last episode was. Did you notice it was written by George's favorite writer on their staff and George's least favorite writer on their staff?
I don't know.
This one was written for television by, which means the head writers were T. Mickle and Ryan Condal. So T is George's friend and former minion, and
Okay.
and then Ryan Condal obviously says his relationship with him is horrible or something like that, right? So anyway,
So the good parts are probably written by one, and then the bad parts are probably written by the other.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that
I'm saying that.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know them. They don't know me. They're not going to watch this. I can say whatever I want.
Fair enough.
They should call me and run ideas by me. All right. That's, I mean, I will sign the NDA. I won't discuss it or nothing, but I'll tell them flat out, no, that's stupid. Don't do it. Yep, that'll work. Keep going. That's all they need to do. And all I need is free HBO for life and a couple bucks.
And early access to George's George's works and notes.
Yeah. Oh, I need to walk around his George's little studio office, maybe peeking the eye at his work process.
There was getting a call. Just let me get rid of that. Sorry, get rid of the phone call coming in. There was
do this button.
I hit the decline button. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh yeah, Preston was saying somebody asked Preston on one of his live streams. What would you do if you were tasked with making like a 3-part series on Aegon's conquest, or on the Mad King, and he said he was worried about 3-act structures and all this stuff, and I put him in a comment. I would make sure if I could have George inform me on the background, then I would have to start the story with Howland Reed going to the Isle. Anyway, I just need to know who the Night's King and Corpse Queen were. Right. So I need to. So my take would be you focus heavily at the beginning on Howland Reed going to the Isle, so you can get.
Well, I mean, in Georgia, you would show Howland Reed leaving the neck, and then not show anything that happened between them leaving the neck and then showing up.
I'm going to show lots of the Isle faces with the Green Man and Howland Reed. I'm going to make sure that George is informed what to do there.
I think that's kind of what Dune Blood Moon was. There were too many antlered men and stuff that weren't addressed in the show that they thought.
What about Alice Rivers? What do you make of Alice's arc?
The now immortal lady stuck at Harrenhal.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much sense it makes, but they're trying to. So there are comments in the book about how she was supposedly ancient and yet also getting pregnant.
Like, what if her and Aegon's children are the Lostons?
Aemon's children.
Yeah, Aemon's. Yeah, sorry.
That's in so this idea of her possibly being pregnant and this idea that she was too old to have possibly been pregnant are in the source material.
Right.
So them making something out of that kind of makes sense from that perspective. Why she was so keen on helping Damon, and then is doing this with Aemond. I don't know. And it's, again, some of this may be, we've got this nonsensical, deliberately ambiguous history book that we're basing things on, and some of the things aren't going to make sense.
Well, the same family that burned her son, same bloodline, is the bloodline she's trying to bang to produce children, possibly for a prophecy, possibly to break the curse that is now on her. Maybe I could see that. She's cursed herself. She's stuck here. So possibly having half dragon babies with the family that is responsible, or partly responsible, for the downfall of your family, the burning and the death of your son, the reason why you did what you did, or are now partially or somewhat immortal, whatever it is. Hey, and then you need that bloodline to break the curse.
Oops.
Oh, here's this. What if she needed a baby with the dragon bloodline? That was the reason for their family's downfall, to kill the baby to break the curse, so now she can grow old and die.
She's behind the dance. Yeah, in a way. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I thought they made it somewhat interesting choices there with that. So, but let's wrap up.
Yeah. Like I said, the battles were the great part. They did a really, really good job.
Well, the actors are good. The acting is really good. But yeah, trying to make something sensible out of the writing is admittedly difficult with the source material. But also they could have done a better job with some of the consistency and continuity.
First two episodes were from last season, so we don't know what was left on the cutting floor to get them to a certain point.
Right.
They wanted to have this battle to where they can go to next season.
Yeah, that's why the first two episodes feel like seasons 1 and 2, and the last 6 feel like something different. She wants and needs the most powerful blood, dragons, gods, and kings that Targ makes for blood ritual. Yeah, that could be. All right.
Appreciate everybody for joining us. We appreciate it. I appreciate that. We appreciate that you were here. We will see you here Wednesday.
We'll resume we'll do some more Lemon Gate, and yeah. All right, sounds good.
Yep. Here we are Wednesday. Y'all have fun. Take care, and bye. Bye, Richard.
Okay.